All right, hey everybody, Michelle Brooks, and we are back for part 2 of our consent and exploration of what does consent look like within ourselves, within our relationship to other people, and then is it something that is available in other beings? Can other beings give consent? Is that possible? And if so, what does that look like and how does that follow? Okay, so just a quick recap of part 1 in case you've missed it. If you have, I really encourage you to pause this, hop over, do part 1, do at least a week of like reflection and thinking on it before you drop into this one. Because it's going to be a little bit of a leap, maybe, possibly, I don't know, for you to hop into the conversation right here, right now. Okay, so how'd you guys do on your journal assignments? Like pull those out, take a look at them, see how you did on reflecting on what a felt sense within your body. How's your body respond? Sense, see, feel, know, hear, like however it is that you interact with your body with the words consent, when you're actually able to drop into this felt sense of like willingness, of like, I know that I really, truly do have choice here and that I am choosing to step forward into a request of the other, either because I value the other person and I can release that which maybe, you know, like compromise is a real thing. So, okay, yeah, I don't have to go do this right now. I definitely, my value system is pulling me towards answering this request right now, and I can circle back around to whatever I was doing over here. You know, that's still consent because we're making the choice to release one thing and hop over to another, you know. But we have to feel safe and secure in that. And safety for me, that definition, just a real quick reminder, is that I feel that the partner on the other side, whatever type of partner that is in agreement with me to try to do no harm intentionally. And that if harm happens, which it does all the time, you know, then we both agree that we're going to try, that we value that connection. So we're going to try to do repair work of whatever we need to do. And that we both agree to acknowledge that it's not all personal, right? Like that sometimes somebody's behaviors are driven by something that they might not even know or anything else like that. And how do we have that dance that allows for all of those pieces to come in there and still have the dialogue, right? On some form or fashion, either in physical words or in frequencies and vibrations. Okay, so we looked at consent that way is agreement that my body is open, it's willing to step into, it feels overall safe in that. It knows that if something comes out of left field, that some type of repair work is most likely going to come forward, so it can open itself up to the vulnerability that's in there, even if it's like all over the place emotionally or whatever that is. Okay, then there's compliance. Compliance is I'm agreeing to like say yes to this, but parts of me are saying no and parts of me are not showing up. I'm starting to not have that full openness to give and receive, and I'm starting to just check some boxes. But parts of me that are saying yes have some value in whatever that request is, so that I can start to show up. And then the spectrum keeps going all the way to submitting. And submission is where I'm now making choices that have nothing to do with me, of what my thoughts, feelings, and desires are. And I'm moving more into survival, right? I'm starting to fold pieces of myself off. I'm cutting off parts of my mental body, my emotional body, my spiritual body, and throwing my physical body in there and saying, you're on your own, sister. You know, like, you know, you gotta like show up, because we're making choices for survival based over here. And we're not at all open and into receiving what's happening in that situation. Okay. And we looked at, and I invited you to explore those 3 different areas. So now that you know it from the human construct, I'd like to crack open the door into the natural world. And I love that. Side note, I love that humans somehow think that this is 2 different doors, because they're not. Okay, end of side note. Put it back in together. Okay, so let's open up the door and let's go through animals, okay? Companion animals, be it your dog, your cat, a horse, and that's what started this whole thing, was a pretty well-known equine behavioralist saying that horses can't give consent. and that we need to stop putting human concepts on to other beings because they're not real. And I would love to explore that and to give a little bit more of a conversation in your own self with that. And I respect wherever you come out of it. I'm just here to help kind of open this container a little bit. So step one, I want to bring forward a concept that of sentience. Okay? And in this concept of sentience, one, I want to release everybody right now from any preconceived notions that they might have, that I have judgments for you or anybody that I'm talking to on where they fall on the scale of sentience. Because I don't. Because I know that mine has shifted and changes dramatically over the years. And I hope and pray that it's going to continue to shift, change, and expand. So where I'm coming from right now is like, I call it like a working edge, right? Like it's an edge that I am so grateful for having developed and come into this understanding of. And I know that it's going to blow my mind where I'm going to be at in the future. So I just want to acknowledge that right there. Guilt, shame, leave it at the doorstep. It's really not welcome from this point forward in this conversation, because in that exchange that we're going to start to have now, we're really opening up into more of that frequency and that vibration. We're looking at what helps our field feel open, willing to come into, resonates more as truth, curiosity, even if it makes us a little nervous, uneasy, even if that kidney energy of guilt and shame starts to come back in there, because we realize we have an aha moment and we look backwards and we're like, oh snap. You know, I've been there, done that, you know, and I've had to do a little bit of forgiveness work for myself, asking, calling in the energy of the different beings that I've noticed that with, and doing some forgiveness work with them. So right off the bat, I want to like acknowledge that and hope that that helps you. Take a deep breath and open up that beautiful space to connecting to the grace that is flowing through you and around you right now. Okay? All right. So pick one of, you know, the natural world that you would like to bring forward. And this might be a tree. It might be a plant. You know, it might be a rock. It might be an element like water, or the earth herself, you know, like whatever you want to explore this concept with. Okay. So now, if you can, I would love for you to imagine, and if it helps to kind of close your eyes to stay in that heart space, whatever works for you, imagine that there is a little thought bubble above their head. Okay, or above the tree, next to it, beside it, whatever you've chosen. And in that thought bubble, we're inviting that being to fill it up with the way that we feel most comfortable communicating, with some words, right? And in there, I just want you to ask it a yes or a no question. Does it have the ability to give consent, as you've explored it from our last vlog? Yes or no? And I'm opening you up to then ask the next question. If it's a yes, then ask for that to start to show you in a felt sense of moments that you've had in relationship with that being that equal consent. The way that you're currently experiencing that word and that vibration. You might see a time where they're just chill next to you. Their nervous system is open, yours is open, and you could feel this just beautiful wave of love coming back and forth between you two. You might feel the time where you came under the drip line of a tree and you could just feel this vibrant vibration coming into your body, and then your body answering that. Sense, see, feel, know. You might get a picture. You might hear it. And you might see a little script in that little thought bubble. Use your imagination. Let it go. First choice, best choice. Don't second guess it right now. Okay, say thank you to them for that. And I'm going to ask for whatever being it is that you have brought forward. I'm really going to ask for their honesty here. I'm going to ask them to keep going with you and to trust this beautiful container that we're in, because this is growth for all beings that are happening right now. And now I'm going to ask you, just with love, again, not coming at it from like, oh, did I do this? Oh, I mean, I've never done this, release that in your body. We have to start with awareness. Awareness is the first step through every door, right? Ask them to share with you, if your heart is willing, to share with you a moment in which they gave you compliance. That parts of them were not in it. Their heart wasn't as open, but they were willing to say yes because they knew that either it was important to you or this was something that you were really expecting them to do, and they could either just say yes and get it over with. Like me in the laundry example, I got to do it. It's not hurting me, except for if I mentally let it, but it's just something I got to do. So we're asking for compliance, to sense, see, feel, know, share with you in that little thought bubble a moment of what compliance looked like between you and this being. And then feel, if you can, what that feels like in your body. And then even if it's possible, you can pause this and even invite your body to experience what it feels like from their point of view. Okay, feel free to pause. I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm thanking yourself for your willingness to step into this. This is not a comfortableness. I get it. I totally get it. And sometimes growth, all the time, growth is not always in comfort, right? So we're going to be right at that working edge where we know we're outside of our comfort zone, but know that you're held in this beautiful container of love that also right now has the ability to cleanse, clear, and release that. Because once we see, feel, and been heard, we can release the little tic-tacs in our field that are holding us from feeling worthy or open into that true willingness door, right? And so this also has the ability to heal as we're going through this exercise. And I just want you to have that in there, that you are healing and repairing as we're doing this. And that's beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you're stepping into this container with me. And I'm grateful for the beings that have come forward to meet us in this container as well. Okay. Lightly, very lightly, I would invite you to ask them, please show me a time where we were in the dance of submission. Bring it forward. Help me sense, see, feel, know what was happening in that moment of submission. Whose need, whose wills was overpowering the other, and who made choices based off of survival and compliance and just getting it done and over so that the pressure of that request would go away. Sense, see, feel, know, hold it very lightly. Do not throw yourself off a cliff. Do not step into victimhood on this. Do not become a martyr with this, because everybody has done this at some point. If you haven't done it in this lifetime, trust me, it exists somewhere. So really invite the love of compassion, the grace of compassion and love into your heart with this question. Please, 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 I hope you accept this grace right now. For yourself and for the animal, because there is times where the animals have also asked for this from us, right? They have crossed in and we have submitted maybe to them. So this is a healing for all beings because I believe they have sentience, thoughts, feelings, and desires as well. There we go. And so now I ask you to come back to a state of neutral, right? Come back into the present right here and right now. And I'm going to ask you to have them hang out for a second. I'm going to take you back in through the door of the human construct because it's a little bit easier. Imagine a small child. Okay? Imagine if you have kids or if you have your own childhood, you know, like whatever you want to do. And that kiddo is having a really hard time understanding why they got to put socks on to go to school. They're just really struggling with it. You know, I'm like envisioning my 3-year-old right now that we had this discussion with. And she doesn't get it. She doesn't like them. She doesn't want to have anything to do with them. They have no value for her. She doesn't understand. But the rule of the preschool that she's going to is she's got to have tennis shoes and socks on. Okay? There's a schedule. My whole body just went backwards with that. I think some of you guys have been there with this. I now have a choice. I have this little being that is struggling to understand why the heck these things got to go on her feet, that she doesn't like how they feel. She doesn't like that they feel restrictive. You know, like I can feel it. She doesn't get it. She doesn't understand it. And a will is getting ready to come in and impose over her. Which doorway am I going to use with her? Am I going to look for true consent? Am I going to go for just put the shoes on, put the socks on, let's go? Or am I going to move her all the way into submission where I slam her little body to the ground, put the socks on there, say it and say, if you take those off, you are not going to like the outcome. Okay? All 3 options are available to me. So you kind of know now what submission is, you know, right? Compliance. We're putting these socks on. This is what we're doing. If you don't do it, then I'm going to go to this next thing of submission. I'm going to up my ante. The pressure's going to get bigger. We're going to have this bigger discussion, and you're going to even lose ... Okay? She's got to make some choices. Does she value whatever she wants from you? Does she want your attention, your love, and your expect more, and she doesn't want you to go to that zone, so then she picks the middle door, right? Consent. Sweetie, I get it. These little socks feel rough. I totally understand. I know. But honey, this is also a rule. And sometimes there are rules that make no sense to us, but really it's to keep you safe because they have mulch and it's going to get in there and they just have a sanitary thing. And even though we don't understand all that stuff, there is a reason and it is fair and just and it's okay. And it's only for this amount of time. So what do you need? How can I help you? Okay, no worries. Let's let your little system, we go through a regulation pattern, we get the system back and regulated, we put the little sock on, it gets pulled off. This process through the consent door is going to be willing to go as long as it needs to go for her to start to feel that her thoughts, feelings, and desires are wanted. Now, that doesn't mean that she gets to punch me, kick me, hurt me. Remember, original version of safety, do no harm, right? In that process. But if she needs to kick and scream and do whatever, I can simply remove myself. Okay, honey, I'll be right here. Let me know when you're ready. Okay, so I wanted full disclosure. This really did happen with my daughter. This is a real example. It took us probably close to 3 days. And it's 3 spaced out days because it was like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. And I just canceled all my, I knew like that I had one way of stepping into this with her. And it was, if I had time constraints, if I had whatever, that I wasn't going to do it. So I was like, I'm going to be present. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to answer all the questions of this little being so that she can choose to step into choice with what she's comfortable with. And a little bit of compliance I know is going to be in there, but I wanted as much of her little nervous system open, as much as her little emotional body to feel seen, felt, and heard, and for her mental body to start to figure out its own discernment, its own way of how it wants to step into compromise of understanding as to much as that little 3-year-old mind could do. Right? And I was right there to help her regulate, to do whatever. So the first 2 days, man, we missed the whole thing, but we still ended up finally in the car, and we just drove to the parking lot where it was. She got to play on the little outside gym, stuff for a little bit because daycare was already over. And she got back in the car and we went back home. Did it all over the next day. And then, each time I was like, hey, sweetie, here's these socks. How we doing? Rinse and repeat, right? Third day, hey, sweetie, here's the socks. If I put them on, I get to go play. Oh, yeah? Yep, that's the way it works, and you get to see your friends. What do you want to do? And she put them on her own little feet, and she's like, I don't really like the way they feel. I go, I know, I don't like socks either. That's why, we can change the type of socks. We can go to the store this weekend and try on all these different socks. But this is what I had this week, so this is what we got to do. Okay. She gets in the little car. She puts on her little shoes. She goes and she has a wonderful day. She gets in, and the next week, we go to the store. We look at all these different ones. She decides she likes the little Zocs, nylon-y things. So we have those, and off she goes, and she feels good. She doesn't have a part of her body that is resisting in that. Now, does she super value wearing socks? No, she did not. But did she understand? Did she feel that they were fair and just? Did she get what was happening? And did she, more importantly, know that I was going to give her the space for it? Absolutely. Okay? Now, pick up that whole thought process and put it on this being, which is a dog, a cat, or a horse, or a chicken, or a fish, or a tree, or a plant. If you really do believe that they have their own thoughts, feelings, and desires, if you really are open to buying into that concept that I want them to feel good in relationship to me, then we have to be willing to step into the same type of a frequency dance with them that we do with each other, because we are sentient beings. And there's not a difference between a human being and a horse being or a dog being. And if we need to pause here, I invite you to pause here, get out a piece of paper, and look at just that. What is the difference between a human being's thoughts, feelings, desires, wants, ability to feel, desires for connections? What is that in a human? What is that in a horse? What does that look like? How do we see it? What is that in a dog? What does it look like? How do we see it? Cat. Keep going. Categories of your choice, as much as you want to do within this. Okay? And then now ask the question, am I willing to be in the dance of looking for consent, openness, understanding, curiosity, safety, oneness, desire, magnetic draw, my whole body saying yes, 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 yes. Even if I'm upset or whatever, that I know that I'm safe to show up with the hot mess or not the hot mess. And that I know I can be in an interaction and I can ask for that. And I know that I also have boundaries. I don't get to harm another just because I'm hurting. And I know that I'm going to ask for that. And that the other being has the ability to respond with me in that same light. Did I believe that my little 3-year-old daughter had the ability within her own self, innately in there, even at 3, to understand and open to her own self-compassion and love? to accepting that, hey, mom's not leaving me, even if I'm on the ground screaming and kicking and I try to kick her and she moves 2 feet away, and I try to kick her again, she moves again, and she just keeps saying, honey, we're not doing that. You know, do I get to understand that then I can do whatever I need to do over here and not direct it at somebody? Do I fundamentally believe that other beings have the ability to do that with me in return? Put a little thought bubble over your head, yes or no. If you got no, then we got to go down a whole nother path to help you understand you, right? To help you heal you. If you got yes, then you're like a little ahead of the game, and you can start to then say, okay, where am I providing the same comfort that I would provide another human being to this sentient being over here? Where am I willing to be in this dance? And you start to move forward from that. So can they give consent? Absolutely. Does it look the way we always look as humans? Probably not. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But the vibration, the frequency that you're feeling in your body in relation to that request, in relation to that connection moment, is going to give you a really big clue as to what their frequency in their body is doing. And you have to, the only thing we have to do is be open to feeling that frequency and that vibration. Okay? So step one, before we even drop into action, because action is a whole nother ball of wax, we are looking for just awareness right now. We're looking for, hey, you might be way closer into this conversation than you think you are. You're going to end up patting yourself on the back and be like, dang, I had no idea. I was actually rocking out sentience, you know? and heck yeah, like, wow, I never thought of that before, but I do this here, here, and here. And then we might have some areas where we're like, ooh, okay, with myself, I'm cutting myself off here, and that's therefore cutting off this person and this being and this, and this. We're asking for awareness, because we cannot change anything without that contemplation and awareness. So that's your homework from this one. I know this is a big series. I hope that you hang with me through it, because let me tell you, the freedom and the peace and like the not taking stuff personal to truly get to that non-attachment, like that area of neutral when you're working with somebody and in that, but yet still have all the love and compassion open to them as this dance is going, like to be in that vibe of compassionate love and understanding and holding boundaries. Like this is how you get there. So this might be through the doorway of the other, but really what this brings forward is your ability to feel in your body, and therefore offer it to those that you're in connection with, that true version of being neutral and open at the same time, of being able to hold and express healthy boundaries, for you being able to then allow and accept with others. It's this beautiful freedom and dance that comes when we start to embody our own sentience and therefore offer that to others, and let their sentience come through and offer it back to us. Because I can guarantee you, if you have a horse who's been trained in a traditional method, he ain't got a clue what we're talking about. He doesn't know that he has a sense of self. And he doesn't know what it has the ability to say or not say. I can guarantee you that most dogs and cats are the same way. Okay? It's survival. It's what happens because we don't even treat ourselves with consent on board in the beginning. That is what this whole pandemic has opened up for everybody. It has brought forward this concept that we are out of control with what is consent, what is compliance, and what is submission, and we don't actually know the difference as a human race. And so I love that we are having this conversation. I'm so grateful that you have stepped into this. I'm grateful for the beings that have shown up to step into this as well, offering beautiful healing strands of grace to you, to all of your companions, to everyone that you're connected to. I ask for this prayer to come out to you as well as you're exploring these amazing, beautiful, beautiful concepts that bring us forward into our true vibe of who we truly are and offering that to those that we are in connection with. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Holding you in tons of gratitude. I'm excited to get into the final part of our series where we will really drop into that action stuff, where the rubber meets the road and we start to work on, okay, now that I've got this awareness and I have this value that I want to try to bring this as much as I can, practice, bringing it as much as I can into that moment with the beings I'm in connection with and with myself. What does that look like? That's what we're going to talk about in the next one. Michelle Brooks with Unbridled Change.